Welcome to Prepare to Survive, Pinellas County's E-Series presentation on disaster preparedness. I'm your host, Tom Iovino of Pinellas County Communications. For the next 15 minutes or so, we'll cover how you can take an active role in preparing our community for and recovering from a disaster such as a hurricane. Questions meeting our terms of participation will be posted. If we don't get to your question, please leave us your email so we can respond. Joining us today is Captain Larry Thompson of the Lealman Fire Department to talk about C.E.R.Ts and how residents can get involved. Larry, thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you, Tom. Good evening.
Thank you. Larry, first of all, let's talk about what a C.E.R.T is. Can you explain to me what it is?
Well, the C.E.R.T is the Community Emergency Response Team. It was actually developed back in the late 80s in Los Angeles, California. And we know that neighbors help neighbors in times of disasters.
Certainly.
And Los Angeles looked at the program and said, you know, if we can give them a little bit of training, a little bit of equipment, a little organization, maybe they can do it safer.
That's the key point. If you want people to come in and help with this recovery, obviously safety is number one. And it leads into my first question, really, which is what kind of training do people get so they can stay safe?
Well, a person going into a C.E.R.T program actually spends about a weekend with us, and we cover 7 different topics. First of all, you can't help anybody else if you're not prepared yourself. So we spend a whole evening on personal preparedness and community preparedness. And then we do fire safety, where we actually fight fires with fire extinguishers.
Really?
Show people how to do that. And then we talk about medical operations, how to do triage to sort patients out in severity levels. And then we spend a lot of time on search and rescue, because that's really the primary mission. Is the state of Florida says that we should search every residence within 72 hours after the winds secede after a tropical storm. Well, you take the numbers there, you know, there's 400,000 residents in Pinellas County and only so many firefighters. Mm-hmm. So that's where really the C.E.R.T comes in to play and help assist the fire departments in that search. And then we talk about disaster psychology, you know, how to prepare yourself mentally to handle disaster, and how to handle the survivors in that. And of course, we spend time on incident management, and then we do a unit on terrorism.
Okay, so you basically cover a wide range of topics that are involved in this disaster preparedness.
Yes, it's a very fast-paced course.
Larry, what kind of person would volunteer for this kind of thing? Is there a particular kind of person you see, somebody who's already actively involved in their community?
It's actually a pretty outgoing person that does. We have people ranging from in their 80s down to, we have people at age 16 getting involved in it.
That's a wide range of folks. I mean, is there a minimum age that you seek volunteers for?
Yeah, we actually require them to be at least 14 years old, and they have to participate with their parents until 18, and then they could be just a regular C.E.R.T member.
Be on their own, so you can actually see almost a family affair. This could bring the children in to assist with this effort.
And we actually do have that. We have a mother, father, and two sons that are actively involved in the program.
Okay, so we've got this training out there. What are some of the roles? What are some of the tasks that you have seen C.E.R.T members assigned to? I mean, is it just you know, assisting firefighters, or does it go beyond that?
Well, in 2004, we actually started the program, and July, we graduated the first program, and in August we used them for the first from Charlie all the way through. And C.E.R.T actually helped in special needs evacuations. You know, they went with the buses to pick up and bring them to the shelters. They actually worked in our emergency operations centers, handling time, payroll, different things. And then they also are trained in shelter management, amateur radio communications, and just a whole host of things, volunteers and donations, and just a wide variety of things that they can help. After the storm, which we haven't really used them for because we haven't really had an impact, we would use them for damage assessment and for search and rescue. And really, quite honestly, you could go a day without seeing a fire truck after a major impact. So they could stabilize the neighborhood and have it ready for the first responders when they arrive.
Now, Larry, you mentioned this program was actually created out in Los Angeles. Obviously, we're talking about a nationwide program where it's in different areas of the country. Have there been any examples of these folks, perhaps maybe this past spring, out in Joplin and places like that?
Yeah, actually, C.E.R.T was activated in Alabama
Hmm.
this year, and there's quite a few success stories coming out of the C.E.R.T. And there was in 2004 quite a few stories. In fact, our team was actually activated by the state, and we spent 3 weeks up in the Panhandle following Ivan, and then we went down to Palm Beach after Gene and worked in the fields.
Now, you're living in your neighborhood, you want to start your own setup for C.E.R.T. You want to start your own C.E.R.T. program. What are some of the things you have to do? What are some of the basics you have to get started with?
Well, one of the things really is to get that sponsoring agency, which in Pinellas County is pretty much the fire departments.
Okay.
But C.E.R.T actually falls under the Citizens Corps program, which also includes volunteers in policing, Medical Reserve Corps, Neighborhood Watch, just to name a couple. And you can get involved in any of those, but you really need that lead agency, that fire department.
So basically, you're looking for somebody to actually serve as a sponsor just to kind of get the organization started.
Correct. And we have about 5 or 6 teams in Pinellas County already, from East Lake down to Dunedin, Oldsmar, Pinellas Suncoast Gulfport. And we actually have 2 campuses. Eckerd College has a C.E.R.T team, and the Pinellas County Jobs Corps has just started a C.E.R.T team.
No, out at Eckerd College. So it does not necessarily just a community. It could actually be an organization such as that.
Correct. Nationally, there's C.E.R.T, then there's campus C.E.R.T, and then there's also a new idea, Teen C.E.R.T, where you actually organize teenagers to do programs. And that's actually been since 2004. There's an example down in Manatee County, or in Bradenton County, or Bradenton.
Down in Bradenton, okay.
Teen C.E.R.T actually adopted a mobile home park after Charlie went through and totally cleaned it up for them.
Oh,
using
okay.
C.E.R.T members.
That's good. I mean, you're actually getting out there, physically getting out there. How would somebody recognize a C.E.R.T member? Now, I've seen some of these C.E.R.T folks out with T-shirts and with green vests. Is that a standard piece of equipment that they would get?
Yeah, throughout the nation, basically, it's all standard. Going through our program, our program actually, once you graduated from it, you get a C.E.R.T kit, and in that is a hard hat and a green vest with C.E.R.T on it, and it gives you some basic medical supplies and flashlights and a whole host of different things. That's free of charge. It's paid through grants through the Department of Homeland Security, and that identifies a C.E.R.T member at a scene of an emergency, and it helps because they can enlist other spontaneous volunteers to assist them.
Yeah, I imagine after a disaster, you must see a number of volunteers arriving. Can these C.E.R.T organizations help coordinate these volunteers who do come into the disaster area?
Yeah, a lot of our C.E.R.T members have taken the Volunteer Reception Center training and that type of training. But really, a C.E.R.T member, we had one incident where we had a gas leak in a building, and one of our C.E.R.T members got the neighbors, his people in his building, to help him evacuate. And by the time the first responders got there, he had everybody evacuated, knew where the gas leak was, and the firefighters just went in there and handled the situation.
Now, you mentioned a gas leak. I mean, something that small could activate a C.E.R.T team, an event like that?
Well, he was actually in his building.
Oh, it was inside the building, for sure.
But like we had the town apartments fire, we activated C.E.R.T to help in the shelter that was provided for that. So there's a lot of spontaneous incidences that could activate C.E.R.T.
Now, Larry, you've spoken to a lot of these C.E.R.T members. What is it they get personally from it? What is that reward for them that they actually get from it?
I think they actually get a personal feeling of community. Last year, or actually average, our C.E.R.T members donate about 5,000 hours a year.
That's a lot of hours.
And that's in community events, helping the community in times of disaster, setting up safety booths. We were in Gulfport for the 4th of July parade, helping with the parade route security, just a whole bunch of different things that they get involved in. And they know they're helping their community.
That's a great part of it. You know, just actually getting out there and spreading the word about disaster preparedness and actually being able to respond. If you live in a community that doesn't have a C.E.R.T program, say, and you wanted to see one started, where would you go to get information about this?
Well, you really need to get buy-in from your local fire department or an agency to actually start it up. There are C.E.R.T teams throughout Florida that are community-based that don't have that sponsoring agency, but it's really difficult for them.
Okay, so basically you want to make sure that you get the buy-in from locally from the local fire department to get on the road to developing a C.E.R.T team. When people are developing these teams, do they just go neighbor to neighbor to just talk to the neighbors to see if they're interested in joining?
Yeah, we actually we have a wait list actually for all of our programs pretty much. Yeah, our last class filled up in 3 days after the first announcement. So there's really not enough classes being offered. But the Lealman C.E.R.T program actually doesn't have a residency requirement.
Okay.
So we've trained 550 people in the last 5 years or so. And not all of them are Lealman residents, but they all live within an area. We also train a lot of American Red Cross members and the DART team, Connie Brooks's people that you had on last month.
Yeah, we sure had Connie on. She was really helpful with getting pets prepared.
Right. So anyway, we train a lot of different organizations also in C.E.R.T training.
Okay, so basically they are C.E.R.T trained to have this basic fire suppression, basic first aid kind of training. When it comes to coordinating with other organizations that bring in volunteers, how extensive is that coordination between the C.E.R.T teams and, say, the Red Cross?
Well, actually, we work pretty good together. Our C.E.R.T team actually staffs one of our school shelters with the school board, and we do a training with them once a year, make sure the shelter's ready, and then whenever they call for a shelter, our team goes in and sets up the shelter with the school board, and then puts it back to normal after the incident.
Okay, so basically they'll go in and help with that sheltering operation. When it comes to, you are a big deal with C.E.R.T. You're very active and very involved in it. What is it that you would like to see the public do? I mean, get more involved in these? I mean, do you see that there's a lot of involvement?
I would like to see more involvement. I think we're kidding ourselves when we think that first responders are going to be able to handle a large impact. Day to day, yes. I mean, Pinellas County has probably the best fire and EMS system in the nation. But when you have a large impact, which we haven't had unless you're 90 years old and lived in Pinellas County all your life, you haven't seen a hurricane here. So I think we're prepared for the day-to-day disaster, but when we have the big one, our C.E.R.T members are going to be the ones, our volunteers, whether it's American Red Cross, C.E.R.T, or any of those organizations, are going to be the ones that really pull us out of it.
It is going to be a big deal. Larry, we're almost out of time. Is there anything else you want to tell our viewers?
Well, of course, I'd really love to get more people involved in C.E.R.T. You can go to our website at www.lealmancert.org, and to find out more information, there's a link there that you can email me if you're interested in it, and we'll notify you when the next class comes up. But you really need to be prepared. There's lots of tools to get you prepared for that. C.E.R.T is just one of those. The first step, of course, is to get a plan.
And take that first step. Get your own plan set and then go out and help others in your community. And it sounds like a great deal. Larry, I can't thank you enough for coming out today. This really does sound like a program people can use to get active in their community and help with the disasters.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you for the opportunity. If you'd like to see a repeat of this presentation or read the questions that were submitted, visit www.pinellascounty.org/eSeries. If you submitted a question and it wasn't answered, please include your email address and we will get back to you. If you would like more information on how to prepare for hurricanes or other potential disasters, visit the Pinellas County Emergency Management homepage at www.pinellascounty.org/emergency. And please join us at 7 o'clock in the evening on Wednesday, September 7th, for our 2011 E-Town Hall Surviving the Storm hour-long presentation where we can answer your questions about hurricane preparation. Stay safe.